I don't know. So under the vision of Pastor Dave Williams back in the days, who was the pastor of Mount Hope Church, right? They had a vision for having a place where people could come in for their second chance. And what that means is, people could come in for, I was telling this person today, there's a lot of people that talk about spirit, soul, and body healing, but in the practical, not many people have, what does that really mean though? Right? Do you follow me? Even if you don't, that's okay. But under this roof here, right, we are truly covering your healing journey under the spirit, soul, and body, which if you don't know anything about Gilead, right, when you walk into this place on the left side, we have what we call the natural. So we have a holistic medical doctor here, Dr. Holmes, and we also have a massage therapist. She's here tonight. She'll probably introduce herself. Her name is Mickey. We also have a chiropractor, Dr. Denise. Well, we have more than one. We have Dr. Denise, also known as my wife. She's the boss, right? And we have Dr. Stacy. We also have Helena. She's our nutritionist. And then on the other side, we have Christian counselors. So we have licensed Christian counselors. We have people that, Scott here. Scott, say hi to everybody. Scott here, we have a team of people that will pray for you. Scott is part of our team with Dr. Denise. So anyway, we truly have the whole healing journey in the three circles. Just to give you a little blurb of what Gilead Healing Center is. That's not why we're here tonight, but tonight you're really just here to eat, right? Aside from that, I'm not sure what's going to happen. So if you've never been to Gilead, we're just want to welcome you in this place. Just an honor to have you. I've been doing this now for 20 plus years. And that's because of my wife. She just forced me to do it. I don't really want to be here, but here I am. Okay, so Roger, can you hear me all right back there? Okay, good. So here's what's going to happen. I want all of you here to get up. I was thinking about this here today. I want you to get up right now just to make sure that you just don't get rigor mortis. Let's just stand up. Go ahead and do that. Just want to make sure we have the right information for the right people. Let's just do that. Everybody, you get up just for a minute. I'm not going to have you run a marathon, but I want you to do this here. Before you sit back down, I want you to think of this here for a minute. Right? I was thinking about this here today at 1 o'clock, and I was like, hey, if all of you are up right now, and if I were to say to you, how many of you here in this group right now as we speak, right? How many of you here, either yourself or somebody that you know has been affected by diabetes, right? How many of you here know somebody? And if you know somebody, I want you to sit now, right? I want you to go ahead and sit. If you know somebody that either yourself or somebody that you know has been affected by diabetes, I want you to sit down, right? Isn't it like amazing? You can go ahead and sit. Joanne, you can go ahead. You can come and stand right next to me the whole time, or you can sit now. That's pretty good, right? There's only two people. There's Joanne and Jim here. So at the end of next month, I'll be teaching a class, right, on diabetes. But as we speak today, I'll give you some stats. There's 88 million people in this country that are pre-diabetic. 88 million. There is 29 million people right now as we speak that already have been diagnosed with diabetes. There's 1 out of 3 people under the age of 65 years old, right, that are diabetic right now as we speak. That's pretty amazing, wouldn't you think? Right? And that's really the reason why we're here tonight is, right, as I truly want you to, unbeknown to you, I want you to protect your greatest asset. Right? I want you to protect your greatest asset. In the next 30 minutes or so, it might be 40. Sometimes I just get carried away. It could be like 2 hours. Hopefully not. Right? But you will discover the most powerful, the most natural, the most effective way to be healthy and to stay healthy while minimizing the deadly effect of chronic illnesses. And, diabetes is certainly one of them. Heart disease, cancer. If you don't know the numbers, I like to just throw numbers because I think numbers are important. They just draw a picture here. There's 700,000 people that die from heart disease every year. There's also 700,000 people that die from cancer every year. Year after year after year, if you look at stats, it's a little bit more, a little bit less, but it's the neighborhood, right? 700,000 people. Wouldn't you say that's a lot of people? So after after I share this information with you here tonight, right, then the goal after that is like, your next step is to find out, I'll give you an opportunity to take action. Because there's one thing that I don't like is I don't like giving great information to people, but yet, nothing happened after that. All of you here can have a jacuzzi experience, and that's not my intention tonight, right? Joanna's laughing. She's like, what are you talking about? What's the jacuzzi experience? I'm about to tell you, right? It's fun. It feels good. But once you get out of the jacuzzi, then it's over, right? But it's fun while you're in there. But once you get out, it's like it's done. It's over. And this is not what I wish for you tonight. That's not what I pray over you tonight. I pray that I'm going to give you something that after you get the information, then you'll take action. And after you take action, then you can get transformation. How's that sound? So I want you to say information with action leads to transformation. Here we go. Right? We're going to do this here one more time. Steve's going to be leading this. It's information with action leads to transformation. Here we go. Some of you here, I've seen you before many times. I don't know if it's good or bad, but you're still here, right? And what I want to say to you is, you might be thinking to yourself, you know what? I've heard some of that before. And I would like you to say to yourself before we get going, I want you to say, hey, self, how can I apply this here? What's the next step for me? Right? Every one of you here tonight, you're sitting here, and there's a next step for you. I don't know what that is, but there's one. Right? You need to find out what's the next step for you. Does that sound fair? You know what? I've done a fair amount of training in my life. I played professional hockey, if you don't know that about me. And I still train on a regular basis, 5 days a week for at least an hour at a time. And I've gone to the gym a lot, right? Can you say a lot? A lot, right? I spend a lot of time there. And I always see two kinds of people going to the gym, right? You have the kind, they go into the locker room, they read the paper for an hour, and then they go take a shower and they go to work, right? Or maybe they just go back home, they tell their spouse they went to work. And then you have the other group of people, they actually work out. Who do you think is going to get the greatest physical transformation in the next 90 days, A or B? All of you here, you're the B people tonight. Are you okay with that? Right? I want all of you to be the B people to get something out of it. If you heard this story, I want you to plug your ears, but if you haven't, it's worth telling because I get really excited when I do this. And if you don't know the story, you think I'm crazy. I mean, I am crazy, but at least you'll have a good reason to just know why I'm crazy. Right? I was born and raised in Montreal, Canada, which is about 10 hours east from here. If you were to just drive and get on 401 there and, for 10 hours. And right on the south shore of Montreal, my dad had two brothers. And every one of the brothers, they all have 5 or 6 kids. And we grew up on big farm, big farmlands. We grew vegetables, thousands of acres between the three of them. When my mom and my dad married, my mother was young. I mean, according to just about every standard, she was 17 years old at the time when she married my father. And then she did not know my dad had a problem with his blood sugar. One day she found him on the ground. She thought he was dead, right? She rushed him to the hospital. By the time they got to the hospital, my father was in a deep coma, right? And she doesn't know what's happening. And by God's grace, 48 hours later, my father came out of the hospital. They told him that he was a diabetic. And then they're like, listen, for the rest of your life, you're going to have to give yourself a shot of insulin. So my father, at the age of 22, started to do that every day. My dad was also a smoker. He smoked 4 packs a day, right? Which is 100 cigarettes a day. And if you're not a smoker, then you have no idea what I'm talking about. But pretty much he had a cigarette in his mouth all day long, right? Until he would go to bed at night. So by the time he was 30 years old, right, he developed this condition called peripheral neuropathy. If you don't know anything about neuropathy, it's quite common today. I see that in a lot of people, right? I mean, millions of people have neuropathy or they don't know they have it. They just have it. Right. But what happened to him is he just pretty much could not feel his legs from his knees down. You could literally take a knife and just jab him in his legs. And he would start bleeding and he did not even know what was happening to him. So he's 30 years old when this is happening. Right. In less than 5 years, my father was 3/4 blind. And the reason why I remember that clearly is because I was 5 years old at the time. He would come into the bedroom and he would say, son, it's time to get up. And it's like 4:30 a.m. in the morning. Right? And I'm like, what for? Right? I'm only 5 years old. And he's like, listen, you're going to be driving the tractor. I'm going to tell you where to go because I can't see. And in less than 1 year, my dad was completely blind. And then because he was blind, he couldn't work anymore. And because he couldn't work anymore, he got depressed because my dad was a workaholic. And then what happened, lost 40 pounds really quickly, just like that. And then what happened is he started to be confined to the house, right? He was in the house 20 hours. He was not only in the house, but he was in bed 20 hours a day. And this went on until he was, 40 years old. At the age of 40, right? July 12, 1982, my dad turned 40 years old. And you would think that at the age of 40, you'd be in your prime. But my dad was far from being in his prime. He was in bed, right? 20 hours a day. Matter of fact, the doctor would come in once a week with his little black bag. He would go right into the bedroom. My father had started to develop bed sores. And the reason for that is because when you're a diabetic, you don't control your sugar, right? You're going to have problems with circulation. You're going to lose your eyesight. He was already blind, right? Then he started to develop bed sores. When it first started, it was about the size of a quarter. Within 6 months, it was about like this big around. You could literally see every single layer of the flesh all the way down to the bone, right? So the doctor would take a little piece of gauze and tape off, and you could see all this yellow stuff. It was nasty and infected. Why do I remember that? I don't know. I was just around the bed, and I'd be watching, right? And then he would clean that up with some new ointment, put another piece of gauze on top of it until the next visit. This would happen on a weekly basis. So at the age of 40, July 12, 1982, he's 40 years old, right? It's supposed to be the best time of his life, but yet it wasn't. And then what happened is 3 months later, September, right? September came around, wasn't feeling well. He wasn't feeling well most of the days, right? I mean, it was like a little bit worse every day. And by the time September came around, right, one day, my mom did not know what to do, so they agreed that they would call the ambulance so they would take him in, right? So the ambulance came in. They go right up the stairs with the two paramedics, the stretcher. They go right into the bedroom. By the time they got in there, right, they assessed my dad, and he wasn't doing well. So they looked at my mom. They're like, we're going to take him in. She already knew that, right? They're like, that's fine. Just do whatever you need to do. So they load him up on the stretcher. They roll him back out of the room. And as they're rolling him out, right, they go right in front of us kids. There's 5 of us. And as they're rolling him out, right, I looked at my mom. She was right there in the corner, right in front of the bedroom door. And I asked my mom, I said, where are they taking Dad? And my mom did not answer. And then I asked her the question again, right? I was 9 years old at the time. I got my 2 brothers next to me, my 2 sisters, right? And she did not answer. Twice I asked her the question. And then what happened is, the paramedic just took him out. And at that moment in time, 9 years old, this is when I first realized that being a good provider was not the most important thing. And what I mean by this is, some of you here tonight might be like, hey, you know what? My job is to provide for my family. And what I want to say to you right now is like, hey, you know what? Your job could be to provide for your family, but if you don't have your health, can you do that? And I would dare to say that the answer is no. And what I noticed at that time, right, this was back in 1982, I noticed that when people lose their health, they don't know how to get it back. And when they have their health, they don't know how to keep it. I'm going to say this here one more time because that's really important. When people have their health, they don't know how to keep it. And when people lose their health, they don't know how to get it back, right? And the reason for that is because people don't really know what that means to be healthy. I mean, I just spoiled it for you. And if you don't know what that means to be healthy, then you just don't know what you don't know. Does that make sense? Right? So what I noticed there is when my dad left that day, this is what I realized. I'm like, listen, you lose your health, you don't know how to get it back. When you have your health, don't know how to keep it. And still to this day, that's one of the reasons why I'm here in front of you here today, right, is because this had a huge impact on my life for the rest of my life until today. That's why I'm right here in front of you. So if I ask any one of you here tonight, say, hey, do you think that we live in a healthy country? You think the United States of America is healthy, right? And most people, even if you don't know anything about health, they usually shake their head. They're like, no, right? How do we know that? Out of 40 industrialized countries, we're ranked number 37. Think about that for a minute. Did you know that there's anywhere between 5 to 8 million of our children right now as we speak, mainly boys that have been, that have been diagnosed with ADD, ADHD that are taking Ritalin right now? Ritalin is a class 2 narcotic, the same thing as heroin. We give this to our kids every day, 8 million of them every day, right? And we just think like, no problem. 75% of this country is considered to be overweight. Over 35% is considered to be obese, right? Chronic illnesses have skyrocketed. Right? I mean, it's just like every year there's more and more than ever before, right? Think about that for a minute. So we have the best doctor, the best nurse, the best technology, the best science, the best of everything, but yet our health is not good. Do you follow me? Right? Does that make any sense? I want you to say no. It doesn't make any sense, does it? No, it doesn't. Right? I want you to think of this. It's the congruency is not there. If we have the best of everything, right, we should have our health, but yet people don't have that. Right? How do we know that? It's simple, because 700,000 people die from heart disease every year. 700,000 people die from cancer every year. 88 million people are diabetic. They're pre-diabetic. There's 29 million that are diabetic. Do you see what I'm saying? There's only one person that's going to make it to the age of 60 years old without taking a prescription medication. The average American at the age of 60 will take anywhere between 5 to 8 prescription medication. That's a lot of drugs. It's like me telling you tonight that people have headaches because they don't have enough aspirin in their brain. Is that it? Do I need to say this? Did somebody missed it? Right? Do people have acid reflux because they don't have enough Tums in their belly? But yet people do it every day. They're like, yeah, Dr. Jean, I take the Tums, make me feel better. I'm like, yeah, well, that's good, but would you not want to find out why, though? Right? Whatever X, Y, Z symptoms that you have, would you not want to find out why you have it? Because if you don't know why you have it or you're not looking for the cause, you're never going to get the solution. Does that make sense? Right? So number one is, why do you think that, do we live in a healthy country? The answer is no. Number two is, why do you think that is? You guys probably have your own opinion, but, tonight, in my professional opinion, there's two main reasons. Number one is people don't want to take responsibility for their health. Now, most people would say, if I ask all of you here tonight, right? Say, who's responsible for your health? What would you say? Right? You would say me. But I want you to hear me right now, because this is really important. I've been asking this question now for 25 years. People always say, well, that's me, Dr. Jean-Guy. And I'm like, okay, well, that's good, right? That's the right answer. But yet what people do is when they have symptoms, they go to the doctor and they want the doctor to fix them, right? So we claim that we're responsible for our health, but yet you want the doctor to fix it for you, right? God forbid you need to eat carrots for the rest of your life. You don't want to do that. Who wants to do that, right? I ate a carrot once. That didn't work. Don't want to do that. You see what I'm saying? Number two is people don't have the right information, right? If you don't have the right information, now I want you to just track with me here. This is really important. We have been following the standard American diet now for a long time, the food pyramid for a long time, right? You follow me? If I say the SAD diet, I want you to think the standard American diet. We've been doing this now for a long time, right? Because this is what they tell us to do. But yet, we're fatter than we've ever been before, and we have more chronic illnesses than we've ever had in our whole life. It's like me telling you here tonight that you go to New York City, which you've heard that before, right? You have a brand new map of Michigan, but you're trying to find your way around with the map. It's not going to work so well. Would you agree with that? Yes? You have a brand new map, but you don't have the right information, so you're not going to be able to make your way around. So if there's a car accident right here on Kreitz Road, and I say, you know what? Every time that there's a car accident, the cops are always there, so therefore that must be the cops' fault. Joanne is like, that's crazy. That's not the cops' fault. They're just there to help. Would you agree? Yes or yes? Yeah. 50 plus years ago, it's called the Framingham Heart Study. That was the first heart study that was ever done in the United States of America to find out why do people have heart disease. And what they found is they're like, listen, when people have heart disease, they always have a high cholesterol, so therefore cholesterol must be the bad guy. Every time that there's an accident on Kreitz Road, the cops are always there. That must be the cops' fault. So from that moment on, 50 years ago, right, they're like, hey, listen, cholesterol is the bad guy. And if your cholesterol is high, we need to bring this down, right? How is that working out? Do you know that there's like millions and millions and millions of people that are taking statin medication? And you know what? What's happening with heart disease? Is it better or worse? Yeah, it's worse. How is that working out? Not so good, would you agree? Would you agree? Can you see how it doesn't make sense? So if we were to do the right thing, they're telling us to do what we're supposed to do, and we do it. Shouldn't we not get healthier? If we were to take all their pills, don't you think we should get healthier? If I ask every one of you here tonight, say, hey, listen, Are you healthier when you take more pills or less pills? More prescription medication or less? If you were truly to be healthy, would you take more drugs or less drugs? I just want to make sure we're tracking here. Some of you are just smiling. You're like, what is he talking about? My doctor said I was fine. My numbers look good. Right? Unfortunately, there's plenty of people, they're just drop dead. They're in their coffin and their doctor said they were doing fine. Right? So I want you to hear me here tonight. That's really important. I mean, I'm kind of here to shock you. Right? I mean, if you're not shocked by the time you leave, I guess I didn't do my job. Because if you don't understand what health is, right, that's really what I want to teach you tonight is like you need to know what health is. Because if you don't know what health is, all the decision you make after that, it's based on what you know of health and what you think health is. So if you think health is found in a bottle of pills, you're going to be like, yeah, my doctor said I was fine, right? My numbers look good. So if a person was to have high blood pressure, they go see the doctor, he's going to open up the toolbox and he's going to give you what for your blood pressure 95+% of the time? Some kind of drugs, right? So if we give you a blood pressure medication and you're taking it because you're like, my doctor said, right, I got to do it. And now you take the blood pressure medication, now it's down to 120/80, right? Then the doctor would say, you're what? Yeah, I would say, you know what, that's good. I mean, your numbers look good. But is the problem still there though? Yes or yes? Is the problem still there? Right? If you were to take your cholesterol pill every day, right? Your statin medication, by the way, I mean, side effect, it's not a big deal. It's called rhabdomyolysis. Your muscle all break down. You start aching all over. No problem. Good business for me. But that's okay. That's besides the point, right? It's going to shut down also the production of CoQ10. And CoQ10, that's what gives you energy. That's why you just fall asleep everywhere, right? You just take naps everywhere. People think, well, they're like, well, I'm just old. No, you're not old. The drugs does that to you. But that's besides the point, right? So let's say your cholesterol is high. You take your cholesterol medication because the doctor said so, right? And now your cholesterol is less than 100, right? Then the doctor would say what? Your numbers look what? They look good, right? But is the problem still there, though? You see 1984 normal cholesterol, you can go look it up in the medical doctor's book, right? In the real doctor's book, it says normal cholesterol was 334. That was normal. Go look it up. Does that make any sense? So I want you to hear me. Because 25 years ago, Dr. Denise is like, yeah, you're going to do this because that was good. I'm like, well, how about you? How about if you do it? She's like, oh, no, you're just better than me at that because you just yell at people. I'm like, well, okay, I can do that. Okay, so now this being said, now we're just moving along. Are you ready? So this is leading us, right? So like, do we live in a healthy country? The answer is no, right? Why do you think that is? Because people don't, for the most part, people say they take responsibility for their health, but they don't fully, right? I'm going to tell you what needs to be done to you in order to do that fully. I'm not telling you we don't need the doctor. I didn't say that. But I want you to understand me. I want you to hear me because that's really important. If you want to, how many of you here in the next 12 months you'd like to be healthier than you are now? Yes? Joanna's not sure. She's like, she only lifted up 2 fingers. But, I mean, really, I know she does. Everybody, and I've never had anybody saying, Dr. Jean-Guy, I really want to be sicker in 12 months. People don't say that. They're like, well, of course I want to be healthier. I'm like, okay, well, if you do then, now listen for a minute. Right? You have to know what health means. That's really important. When I started to do this 20 years ago, it was called the paradigm of health, right? People are like, what does that mean? You have to know, like, how do you define health? There's 3 different paradigms of health, and you're going to be like, I'm going to explain them to you tonight. And you will end up positioning yourself in one of those lanes. There's no right or wrong lane. I'm just telling you that there's a lane that you're in. I'm hoping that if you choose to, you can switch lane, right? But people will just be in 1 or 3 lanes. Before I go any further, I want you to just like, if you look in the medical dictionary right now, right? It doesn't say health is when you have no symptoms. It doesn't say that. And if you find it, you let me know. It doesn't say you're healthy when you don't have symptoms. It doesn't say that. You can look it up and you can try to prove me wrong. I'm just telling you I'm not wrong. Okay? I'm right, just here, not at home, but right now I'm right. Right? It doesn't say if you don't have symptoms, you're healthy. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say you're healthy if you take your drugs. It doesn't say that either. Right? According to the World Health Organization, it says health is when you have 100% function. And then it goes on to say physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. So what that means is you being healthy is when your body is functioning 100%. Does that make sense? So far, so good? You like it? Right? You're healthy when your body is working 100%. Do you want your body to function at 50% or 100%? 100%. That sounds good, right? So now we've established a definition of health is not just you not having symptoms. Did you know when a person has a virus and they have diarrhea, did you know that's healthy? Now don't say yes, because 90% of people come to the office, they're like, I was really sick yesterday, Dr. Jean-Guy. I'm like, well, why is that? Well, I mean, I had diarrhea. I'm like, well, that's great. And people look at me like I'm just like some kind of alien. I'm like, diarrhea is very healthy. When you have a virus, better out than in. Yes? She's not sure. She's like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Right? Kids come in, they're like, oh, Dr. Jean-Guy missed my appointment yesterday because I had a fever. Mommy and daddy said I was sick. I'm like, when you have a fever, you're not sick. You're expressing health. Most of you did not know that. They're like, oh, I'm sick. I'm like, no, you're not sick. You're healthy. Having a fever is healthy. When there's a bug in your body, if the fever doesn't go up, your core temperature doesn't go up, you won't be able to kill the virus. Does that make sense? That's pretty simple. But yet you were told that you're like, oh, I'm sick. I'm like, no, you're not. You're actually healthy. Right? Because your body is doing what it's supposed to do. And when people have symptoms, what are we trying to do? Right? You're just trying to suppress them. Your cholesterol is high, we're going to suppress it with a pill. Right? You have diarrhea, go see the doctor, get an antibiotic. Yes? Let's try to suppress the symptoms. Come back for a mission trip, you're crapping your pants, you're going to go get another pill. Yes? You're sad, get a pill for that. You're too happy, get a pill for that. Can't go to bed, got to take a pill for that. Right? You're bleeding out of your behind, we got a pill for that. You follow me? You have GERD, indigestion, we got a pill for that too. Right? You take the Prilosec, you're like, hey, I feel better. Have you ever looked on the bottle of Prilosec or omeprazole? Have you ever looked on the bottle? I know you haven't, and people say yes, they haven't. Because if you truly did, you would not be taking it. It says on the bottle that when you take, Prilosec or omeprazole, that it's going to shut down the absorption of all your minerals. Well, that's okay. You'll have osteoporosis. We got a pill for that too. How's that sound? We'll give you injection. Right? Sounds good? And then it also shut down your absorption of iron. Then you're gonna be anemic. That's okay too. We got a pill for that too. Right? Think about that for a minute. I wasn't planning on going there tonight, but it was just bubbling on the inside. I just had to share that with Dan. Right? So 3 paradigm of health. I got lost here. I'm going to get back here on track. There's 3 different lanes, okay? Let's talk about first lane. So some people define health, right? They're like, hey, I'm going to go see the doctor. That's what we call healthcare today in the United States of America. Matter of fact, in Canada, in other countries around, they just try to copy, right? They just think that, it's great, right? So you go see the doctor. Doctor's going to give you a pill for every ill. Yes? You have symptoms, we'll give you a pill. You follow me? You have high blood pressure, you got a pill for that. Got cholesterol, got a pill for that. You're sad, got a pill for that. Too happy, you got a pill for that. Can't poop, got a pill for that. Right? So there's a pill for every ill. This is like this paradigm of health, because here, right, if this is what a person does, that means in their mind, they're like, listen, if I can take a pill for my symptoms, the symptoms goes away, that means I'm healthy. Is that true or false? True or false? Is he the only one who's going to say false? Can you guys hear me here? Does that make sense? I'm not opposed to the pill. I'm just telling you that you think you're healthy if you take more pills or less pills. Okay? So let's say, for instance, you were to take the blood pressure pill, right? Your next question should be, You know, why do I have high blood pressure? Would you agree with me? Okay, so this is the first lane here, right? This is not like, there's a lot of people in this lane. In this lane right here, this is lane number 2 for health. This is people that say, hey, you know what? When I have symptoms, I don't like to take medication, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to do things naturally, right? Let me talk to you about you people, naturally people. Are you ready? Right? People have a cold, and then they go to the health food store. They're like, hey, can I just get like some of your vitamins that's going to help for my cold? Right? And then they take it, and then when the cold is gone, they just put it away, and then we're done. Or maybe there's people that are 20 pounds overweight, and they're like, hey, now I'm going to go on this like weight loss program. I'm going to lose the 20 pounds. I'm going to put my Speedo on. I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to look great. And then when I come back from vacation, I'm going to keep doing what I was doing before. Right? Or I'm a chiropractor, in case you did not know. Have you ever heard of people saying, you know what, this one time, you know, my chiropractor, he's the best. Because my neck was crooked, you know, this one time, and he just cracked me this one time. And I got all better and I haven't needed to see him in the past 25 years. I got all better. Right? It's just this one time. Right? I ate this carrot this one time and I was all better. Right? So when we're in this lane right here, what we're going after is to say, hey, you know what? I don't want to take drugs. I'm going to do things natural. And if I have no symptoms, right, that means I'm good. But I want to remind you, now listen, this is really important, and I'm not joking about this, right? I want to remind you that 80% of the time, the number one symptom of heart disease is a heart attack. So what does that mean? That means that people don't know they have it. They're going to have a heart attack. They're going to croak over. Do you follow me? Is that possible? A person could have cancer. They don't have any symptoms. Is that possible? Happens all the time, right? I don't need to tell you any stories. I'm sure all of you here have your own story about people that you know. So what I really want for you tonight is I want you to get out of this second lane, even though it sounds appealing, right? You're like, well, I don't have any symptoms and I don't like to take drugs. And if I do, I'm just going to be sniffing those oil and I'm going to take this little vitamins, or I'm just going to lose some weight quickly, right? I want to have like a quick fix. I'm going to have this guy just cracking me. He was the best. And I'm like, okay. But I want you to remember that there's a lot of people, they think they're healthy, and then next thing you know is they're gone, right? And I'm sure that if I was to do the opposite now, to have you stand up, if you know somebody like that, just about all of you would be up, would be like, yeah, I know somebody like that. They were fine, and then they're just like gone, right? So remember that you live your life based on how you define health, right? You live your life based on how you define health. So now in the last lane, which is really where health, lays, right? And this is what I wish and I pray for all of you here tonight, is to say, hey, you know what? If I want to be healthy, there's 3 things that have an impact on how your body is working. How many? 3. 3 just like that. And then there's 1 thing that controls it. Right? There's 3 that have an impact on, and there's 1 that controls it. Do you follow me? And this has nothing to do with how you feel. And the first one is, if you've been around, I'm just going to repeat it, and I'm hoping you're going to tell all your friends. Right? It's like, number 1 is you have to think well. So today, more than ever before in the world of science, right? They take people that are very negative, right? People can create their disease with how they think, but also people can create their health with how they think. They take people with terminal illnesses, doesn't matter which problem they have, and they're like, hey, listen, we're going to take you on a retreat, and we're only going to have you meditate, and we're going to have you see yourself getting better, healing from head to toe, every cells of your body, every ligament, tendon, system, organs, right? And they do this for a week, and they do this for hours every day. And then what they do is they start doing like all this medical stuff, PET scan, brain scan, just name it. And then guess what happened? Boom. Chronic illness is gone. So I always tell people, I'm like, hey, listen, Kathy, you got to be around people that loves you, right? You got to be able to love people that are around you. You got to be able to feel safe when you're around them and when they're around you. You got to read a good book that's going to be filling your brain with good things, right? You got to think well, because if you don't think well, you're never going to be healthy, right? Some of you, like maybe some of your family members should not be around, right? You're like, those people, they're like, no, right? Because they're not healthy for me. And it's sad to say, I'm just telling you that's the truth, though. From a scientific perspective, right, you can create health with your brain and you can create disease with your brain, and you can look it up. We don't have time. We'll be here all night. But I can teach classes on this for hours and days. So that's number one. You got to think well. Number two is you got to eat well. That's number two. You got to eat well. Do you know what that means? Is you cannot be on the standard American diet, because if you're on the SAD diet, you're going to die early and you're going to suffer a lot. So what does that look like? If you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta, you're done, right? The food pyramid, the way you see it, is you eat a lot of grain, you have a lot of dairy, which is like a recipe for like disaster, right? It's a recipe for people to be overweight, to be obese, to have chronic illnesses, to have a lot of cancer, to have osteoporosis, to die early, to suffer a lot. How does that sound? That's the standard American diet. It's called the SAD diet, the standard American diet, right? So when you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, pasta, then what happens is your body's on fire. It breaks down faster, right? And then you'll have all the problems in the world. All the problems, from musculoskeletal problem, from being depressed, from having high blood pressure, from having high cholesterol, from having gut problem, from having brain problem, from having immune system problem, just name it, you have it, right? You'll have them all. But Dr. Jean-Guy, my doctor said, you just realize that they haven't had many nutrition class, right? And the ones that they had, they were subsidized by the dairy company, yes? And the, this company over there in Battle Creek, what is that called? Right? When you read on the label when it says enriched whole wheat flour, do you know what that means, right? Enriched means they got rich. That's what it means. Right? Because a grain by nature, now listen to me, a grain by nature is perfect. It has protein, it has fat, it has vitamins, it has everything. But then what we do with it is we strip it down to just keeping the sugar part, right? So at 5 o'clock when you go to the store, right, the rats won't even touch it, but you're going to be buying some spaghetti, right? Because it's been there for like a few months, maybe a few years, and then you can have it in your own closet for the next 5 years, and it's never going to go bad because it's just the sugar. So that's what people do, right? People eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, pasta every day, right? Every day, every day, every day. And they're like, yeah, but Dr. Jean-Guy, that's whole wheat. I'm like, yeah, whole wheat and rich whole wheat. That means they got rich and you're getting sicker every day, right? And your body's breaking down. But you're like, that tastes good though. I'm like, yeah. You're not supposed to eat for taste. You're supposed to eat for fuel. It doesn't matter what it tastes. Just plug your nose, right? If you had COVID and you don't taste anymore, that's great. I mean, what's the problem? Why would you be complaining? You don't need to smell. You don't need to taste. You just need to eat food, right? Some of you are like, yeah, I lost my taste. I lost my smell. I'm like, well, that's a good thing. You know, sugar is a greater addiction than heroin. And people don't realize that. So you got to think well, you got to move well, you got to eat well, and then last but not least is you got to move well. Right? And moving is really important because most people don't move enough. So today there's like a plethora, I don't know if I said that word properly, but a lot of research as it relates to movement and how it drives the brain. 90% of your brain nutrition has to do with proper motion of your joints. I'm going to say this here one more time. Maybe you might want to write this down if you want to. You don't have to, but 90%, right, of your brain nutrition has to do with proper motion of your joints. How important is that? Your brain is being driven, the health of your brain is driven by the movement that you have in your joints. So if you're not moving, that means you're dying. When people say, hey, listen, sitting is worse than smoking, Why do you think that is? All of you here could be tired. You're like, Dr. Jean-Guy is making me fall asleep. If I get you up right now and you start doing jumping jacks, 25 of them, how are you going to feel? Don't be afraid. You're going to be like, whoa, I'm ready now. Right? Because what happened is motion of your joints, they just drive the health of your brain. Why do you think when they have kids that have ADD, ADHD, instead of having them do math problem after math problem after math problem after math problem, we're going to get them a tutor and do another math problem. They're like, no, let's just get them out. Kick their little behind and like, just go play. And the more they play, the better they do on their tests. What does that mean? Because what happened is motion drives your brain. It drives your cerebellum, and your cerebellum is in charge of your cognition, right? Now, all of you here, you don't look like teenagers. I mean, maybe a few of you, you look like you're 12, but, you know, the majority of you here, I mean, when people get older, they're just like, listen, the things that I'm the most afraid of is I don't want to lose my brain, right? People don't want to have early dementia and Alzheimer and Parkinson, all of those neurodegenerative disease, do they? They don't. Do you know how to avoid that? Is by moving. And the more people move, the better they are, right? So motion is lotion. You like that? Motion is lotion. You should probably write this down too. You're just like, yeah, that's a good one. Motion is lotion. Bob is writing this down, right? Motion is lotion. 10,000 steps a day. It's like, it's a farce, right? People do their 3,000. They're all happy. They're like, I did so good today. Well, maybe it's good for you if you used to do 1,000. I'm just saying that 10,000 is just not a lot. I don't want to burst your bubble. I just want to tell you the truth. People need to move. People that are moving, they're much healthier. Understood? So in this lane here is you got to think well, move well, eat well. Yes? Understood? You got to think well, move well, eat well? Say yes. Yes or yes? The answer is yes. Right? And then remember, in the world, according to the World Health Organization, it says health is when you have 100% function. So if health is when you have 100% function, what controls all the function in your body? What's the master controller system? That's your brain and nervous system. When you're born, your brain is in charge of controlling 9 trillion cells, 9 with a T, right? But as an adult, like all of you here right now, your brain is in charge of controlling anywhere between 70 to 100 trillion cells, which is pretty impressive. So that means for your heart to beat, your lungs to breathe, your stomach to digest food, the information has to go from your brain through your spinal cord, out the nerves to every organ, tissue, cells in your body, right? The brain is the driver, right, of all the function of your body. The brain is in charge of controlling every single function in your body 100%. Understood? 100%. That's kind of important, would you say? Now, this information goes through this highway, right? That happens to be your spine, in case you did not know. In case you did not know, those guys that are Nobel Prize winner, which they're really smart, way much smarter than me, right? That have found that 90% of your brain nutrition has to do with motion of your joints. Do you know that the most important 2 joints in your entire body that drives the most nutrition to your brain, where those joints come from? Which one are those? They're not your pinky, by the way, just so you know. It's not your pinky. This is it right here, right? This is called the top 2 bone in your neck. It's called the atlas and the axis. If you've been to one of our workshops, you know, our doctor's report, you should know that. It's called the atlas and the axis. The top 2 bone in your neck are the most important joints in your entire body to feed your brain. That's the reason why you could have a person that has depression and you adjust their neck and then their depression gets better. Or you could have a person that have ADD, ADHD and you adjust them right there and then they get better, right? Or you can have a person that has high blood pressure and you adjust them right there and then their blood pressure comes back down. Why do you think that is? Because right up here, you have this nerve called the vagus nerve is in charge of regulating your heartbeat, right? So when Victoria came to the office, she's 16 years old. She's a teenager. How many of you here have teenagers? Well, good for you. I mean, blessing, right? Hopefully you'll be done soon, okay? I don't have any more teenagers. But anyway, let's get back on track here, right? So Victoria comes in. She's just the sweetest. She comes in with her mom, and her mom says to me, she's like, listen, she's got headaches. You know, she's got daily headaches. So we took an x-rays of her spine, and we determined that she had spinal damage right here, the top 2 bone in her neck, because it's very common. When people have headaches, you know, I can almost put my hands in fire that's going to be right there. You follow me, Right now, what she did not tell me is I started adjusting her, right? I mean, she definitely had some problems. So we started adjusting her, and a month goes into this, a month goes in, right? I mean, I've been adjusting her now for a whole month. Her mother comes in, right? As she's coming in one day, the mom is like, listen, she wanted to talk to me. Matter of fact, she's got tears in her eyes, and it kind of felt awkward, number one. And I'm like, maybe we need to go in the back room, right? So now I walk in the back room, and she says to me, she's like, listen, when Victoria came in, I told you about the headache, but I never told you about how she was, diagnosed with clinical depression. And since you've been adjusting her, now we're 4 weeks, 5 weeks into this. She's like, now instead of walking in the house, going right into the bedroom, now she comes and talks to us, which is the first time since she's been diagnosed. Right? She says, I can't thank you enough. Think about that for a minute. Kim came in, this was like early on in practice, right? It was on Saturday morning, used to work on Saturday from 9 to 12. Of course, everybody would come in at like 11:59. I don't know why, but somehow they did. 11:59 come in, right? Not at 9 for some reason, 11:59, right? So Kim comes in and she says to me, right, brand new patient, never seen her. She says, hey, listen, can you adjust me right here? And then I'm thinking to myself, I was, pretty young and I wasn't very humble at the time. So I said to her, I'm like, well, listen, who's the doctor here? Is that me or you? Right? And then she looks at me and she says, Dr. Jean-Guy, I'm sorry. I just moved here from Canada. And when I have acid reflux, my chiropractor back home, he would just give me an adjustment right here and the acid reflux would be gone. Right? Because she understood that if your brain is not capable of sending the right message at the right time to your stomach when you eat food, right? The brain sends the message to your stomach to produce digestive enzyme. Yes or yes? In case you did not know, I want you to say yes, because that's what's happening. Okay? You can be eating the best organic food, and I know some of you here, you're like, oh, Dr. Jean-Guy, I only eat organic. I'm like, well, good for you. But if your brain cannot send the right message at the right time, you can still eat organic food. You're still going to have acid reflux. Do you understand that? Right? If your brain cannot send the right message at the right time, it's not going to work. You could go on your 5-mile run right now and exercise every day, which I just told you should. And I know some of you here, you do that. But let's pretend that you have damage to your spine and nervous system right here at the bottom of your neck, and it's crushing the nerve going to your heart. What would happen when you go on that run? Would your heart have to work less, or they have to work harder? Yeah, they have to work harder. We call that congestive heart failure. How many of you would like to sign up for that program? Right? None of you. You're like, no, I don't want that. And did you know that you have to go from 100% function all the way down to 60% before you start having symptoms? I'm going to say this here one more time because some of you might want to write it down. You're like, that's profound. You have to go from 100% function all the way down to 60% before you start having symptoms. That means that you need to have at least 40% of sickness, death, or disease in your body before you start knowing about it. So how many of you here are like, well, I'm just going to wait until I feel bad? Right? Do you see how it makes no sense? No sense whatsoever. But people do that every day. They're like, I feel fine. Right? Dan in the past, not tonight, he's never going to say that again, but in the past, Dan would have said something like, hey, if it's not broken, let's not. Come on, it's not you. You guys are not Dan. This is Dan. Right? If it's not broken, let's not fix it. It doesn't hurt. Right? This is silly. Why would you think like that? That's silly. People drop dead every day. They felt fine. I want you to know better. Because you deserve better. God wants you to be healthy, in case you didn't know. I don't have time to go into it. You missed that class, but I'm just telling you, he wants you to be healthy. Right? Bob was there. If you guys missed it, you can go see him. He's going to tell you about it. Okay? So in here, you got to think well, move well, eat well, and then you got to make sure things are functioning properly. Right? We have those little brown guys. I call them the brown guys. They're the UPS guy. Those guys are amazing or what? Right? Been taking care of many of them over the years, right? And those guys, they work hard. And then they think like some of you might think like that. You're like, Dr. Jean-Guy, I don't sit all day. I'm just like those little brown people. I'm on the go all the time. Just imagine doing the same thing over and over again for the next 30 years, right? What is that going to do? For sure, Do you think your body's going to start breaking down a little bit at a time when you do the same thing over and over and over and over again? Right? So what happens is when your spine starts breaking down, when you have damage to your spine and nervous system, this is when now what's happening is garbage in, garbage out is not happening anymore. Do you follow me? Right? This is when your body starts breaking down. Because if your brain cannot send the right message at the right time, or from the organ or from the muscles back to the brain, then we're having like problems with the highway. Do you follow me? Right? So things got to be able to function properly. And how long do you think this should happen? How long, Kathy? How long? How long do you think that this process should happen properly? How long? The rest of your life. How about that? What a concept. How long should you try to stay away from cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta? For how long, Dan? How long, Dan? Tell me. Tell me, Dan. He just said forever. That's what he just said. I heard it. How long should you be moving your body for, Joanne? How long? A long time. Thank you. She didn't want to put a number on it. She just said a long time. How long should you be thinking well for, Jean? Forever. Yeah, forever. Thank you. You cannot eat your carrot one time and say that didn't work for me. You cannot get an adjustment one time and say that didn't work for me. You cannot just be thinking well one day and do like 5 minutes of meditation and say that didn't work for me. You can't do that. Right? Because I would say something like, well, you're right. That did not work for you. Right? Because when you are into health, right, you just do things to be healthy. And how long do you do it for, Bob? Forever. And you just never think about it. You just do it. Right? And that's what I want for you. That's what I want for Rebecca. That's what I want for, is it Dale? Right? That's what I want for Carrie. That's what I want for Faith. That's what I want for Joanne, especially Joanne. Right? I just love this guy. Right? That's what I want for Leah. That's what I want for all of you. You see, but if you don't know what health is, though, you're just never going to know, because you're going to be like, yeah, but the doctor said I was fine. And I don't want you to be fooled. Right? What the doctor really said to you is your numbers look good. It doesn't mean you're healthy. Right? Having your numbers look good, I mean, that's fine, but you could still be dropping dead tomorrow. Do you want to be healthy? You want to be dropping dead? Which one do you want? Right? When I was teaching this class a couple of weeks ago, I was telling that, if you ever read the Old Testament in the book of Deuteronomy 34:7, it says that, Moses was 120 years old when he died. And it also says that he went up the mountain to meet God before he died. He's 120. He must have had some stamina. 120 years old going up, right? And then it says he was 120 years old when he died. And then it goes on to say his eyes were undimmed and his vigor was unabated. How many of you want that? I didn't say you're going to live to be 120. I'm just saying, how many of you would like to be like having like your eyes being undimmed and your vigor be unabated, meaning like until the last day, you're going to be all in. How many of you want that? Very good. So we're just are in agreement. That's what I want for you. Right? And if this rings true to you tonight, I tell people all the time, I'm like, listen, when it comes down to your health, you can do whatever you want because that's yours. Right? You can do whatever you want. But just imagine here for a minute that you don't do anything about the problems that you have, right? You have headaches, you don't do anything about it. You have immune system problem, don't do anything about it. You got back pain, don't do anything about it, right? You got numbness, tingling pain, don't do anything about it. You have, gastrointestinal problem, you got gut problem, you don't do anything about it, right? You have heart disease, you have diabetes, you have this, you have that, you don't do anything about it. You wait for another 6 months, a year, 2 years, you think it's going to be better or worse. Right? Knowing that something could have been done and you have a chance to get to your bucket list. And what's that? I don't know. Right? Some of you, your bucket list is maybe you want to get on your knees and play with your grandkids. Some of you, maybe you want to be walking your daughter down the aisle, but at the rate at which you're going right now and your health is declining, it's never going to happen. Some of you would like to be traveling the world, with your wife, and it's not going to happen because you don't have your health. You're always thinking about the next pill you're going to be taking in the next doctor's appointment. Right? Some of you want to have a relationship with your kids and you want to be able to chase them around and get on your knees with them, but guess what? You don't have your health. You can't do that. Some of you, you're like, the heck with the kids. I don't care about my kids. I just want to be productive at work. Right? And if that's you, you know what? If you don't have your health, you won't be able to do that either. Think about that for a minute. So I want you to think of this here for a minute. That's why I want to, finish here. I want to land on this too. Offer you this thing called the Wellness Breakthrough Evaluation if you've never had one. Some of you, I know you have, but some of you here, or many of you, you've never had one, right? Or you've never had one like that. And what that means is when we do our Wellness Breakthrough Evaluation at either one of our offices, whether it's here or whether it's at our friend or office, is what we do is we do this thing called a nerve scan. And what we do is your nervous system, now listen to me here for a minute, because I'm going to give you the why behind it, right? Your nervous system, if you were to take, there's 31 pairs of nerve coming out of your back. How many? 31 pairs of nerve. If you take one nerve, you blow it up. There's 9 little nerves. There's only 2 out of the 9 that tells your brain about pain. The other 7 has to do with function of the organ tissue cells in your body. It has nothing to do with pain. Do you follow me? Right? Say yes. Dan says yes. Okay, he's like, I got it. Right? So there's only 2 out of the 9 that tells your brain about pain. So there's a big portion that has nothing to do with pain. It has to do with function of the organ tissue cells in your body. Do you follow me? So when we do the nerve scan is we can have an insight into the other part aside from the pain. Number 2 is we do pictures of a person's posture. Now, some of you are like, who cares? Well, your posture is kind of important because it's been studied for a long time. And when people have, when we do an advanced postural analysis, what you see is when a person has postural distortion, that means that you've had prior spinal injuries that haven't been corrected or fully corrected. That means that your nervous system doesn't work properly. Matter of fact, now, I'm going to just give you a little insight because some of you, you're already there. You're already well on your way. Are you ready? People come into this world like this, right? You come into the world like this and you leave how? You leave like that too, right? So when you start walking around and you're like that, right? That means that you're on your way. People are like this, right? Your posture is a window to your spine and nervous system, tells you about the health of the person. And then number 3 is we do this advanced biomechanical digital x-rays. And the reason why we do that is because, right? When we look at your spine, we can find out how much damage there is into your nervous system. You can find out how long it's been there for, how much damage there is, right? And can that be corrected? And once we gather all this information and other things, right, that I don't have time to tell you about right now, but once we gather all this information, then we have this second part, which is called the doctor's report. And I teach people how to read their x-ray so I can give you the knowledge, right, the information so you can make better decisions for yourself, because who's responsible for your health? Yeah, you are. If you don't know what's happening, how can you make a decision? You just don't know what you don't know, right? People are like, well, the doctor said. I'm like, okay. So if the doctor says jump off the bridge, you're just going to do it, right? But literally, people say that, but they tell me that every day. But the doctor said, did you ask him why? No, he just told me to do it. I'm like, okay, well, that's good. You want to be obedient, but do you know what every one of those drugs do to you? Do you know what the side effects are? Right? Today I had this, I was reading this book, I was bored. It's called the Nutrient Depletion Handbook. Do you know that the pharmaceutical company, they put a book out? It's called the Nutrient Depletion Handbook. Nutrient Depletion Handbook. That means that for every drug that people take, right, it's going to deplete your body from your nutrition. And then it's going to be causing some deficiency. How many of you here, when you went to your doctor and he prescribed your drugs, how many of you that ever told you that with this drug, it's going to deplete your body from A, B, C, and D? How many of you? Oh, how about that? No big deal. That's no big deal. After you take it for a while, you have symptoms, we'll give you another drug. Does that sound like hell to you? Yes or no? Okay. That's why it's important. Who's responsible for your health? Thank you. You need to know. So I like to empower people. Maybe you just don't care about that. I'm just telling you I care, because I think you should know, right? So after we do all of this, then we have the doctor's report. Then we can report to people. And then we can find out, can we help you? What do we need to do? And then we can have a game plan, right? Get your health back. How's that sound? Right? Let's just pretend tonight you just go to the ER, right? And they have to take a full set of x-rays, right? How much? Let's say that you don't have any insurance. You're going to pay cash for that. How much do you think they charge you for that? She's laughing. I don't know why, but she's like, I don't know. They're going to put me to jail. I have to pay. But let's just pretend that, you have to pay them for your full set of x-ray. How much do you think they charge you for that? Thousands. She says thousands. right? I've had people saying to me, couple thousand, 5,000. I mean, almost to the point where I want to become an x-ray tech. I want to take the x-rays. I'm just kidding. I really don't want to do that. But if it was worth it and warranted, would that be okay? I want you to say yes. Right? When people come to our office, if a person, let's say for instance, they don't have any insurance, they're just going to decide to pay for it. Right? It's $320 to have all of that and plus, which is really nothing. But when people come, if you were dragged in here tonight, somebody maybe might have dragged you, just grab your hair and just drag your hand, say, you got to do this, right? I tell people all the time, like, listen, if you didn't care about your health, most likely you wouldn't be here, right? Or somebody cared about you, about your health, right? And I say, listen, when you schedule your appointment for a wellness breakthrough evaluation tonight, we charge $69 to do that, right? Why in the world would I do that? Right? Joanne says, because you care. I always like to tell people, I'm like, listen, I do care very much, but I want to tell you, like, at a deeper level. September 14, 1982, what happened on that day, right? This was like a tattoo on my body forever, right? When my father left that day, right, I never saw my dad again. My father had a heart attack at the age of 40, never saw him again. Left behind him 5 kids, none of us were teenagers, right? And if my father would have been sitting right here tonight, 10 years prior to him dying, right, the chances are, right, he would have seen me getting married. He would have seen my wife and I graduating. He would have seen his grandkids playing sports, but you know what? That never happened. And the reason why that never happened is because nobody has ever taken the time, right, to tell him really what health was all about. He just didn't know any better. And that's the reason why, right, I want to do everything that I can, right, for you to not have any barrier, to just be like, hey, you know what? No big deal. We'll get this done, right? So when you schedule your appointment, it's going to be $69, right? It can be either at this office or it can be at our other office in Frandor. And then you can find out, you can get to the bottom of it, right? This could be like your first step. I don't know what your second step is. Some of you probably have a second step, right? So if it's the case here, I want to guide you through this because I've been in trouble before. So I just want you to grab this. It's right in the middle of your table now. It's right in the middle of the table. The flower is on top of it. Now you have this here on the table. I just want to show you how that works, right? We have this thing in this day and age, 2024, it's called a QR code, right? Some of you are like, what's that, Dr. Jean-Guy? I mean, that's okay if you don't know what that is, okay? But if you know what that is, the QR code is you can scan it, and then it's going to have you pick an office, right? So when you scan the QR code, it's going to say, hey, are you going to want to come here to Gilead, this office, or our other office? And then after that, it's going to say, put your name in, because we want to know who you are. And then it's going to say, okay, now let's pick your appointment time. And then after that, it's going to take you, you're going to have to wait a second. It's going to take you to, the payment screen, right? So you're going to go boom, boom, boom. Now, some of you here, I know, because every time that I do this, it always happens. People are like, well, there's some family members. I'd like to sign them up. Can I do that? The answer is yes. Scan the QR code, put their name, schedule an appointment. Well, Dr. Jean-Guy, I don't know their schedule. But that's okay. You can change the appointment if you want to, right? But you'll have the ability to have this offer for tonight. Understood? Is that clear? Yes or yes? Everybody understand? Yes? Okay, that's good. I want to finish up here before I bring some food. I want to finish up here with this. My friend here, Pat's going to come down here, and I want to tell you about Pat a little bit. I want to pre-frame you. You're going to laugh. She's going to laugh. I mean, we all going to laugh. Is that are you good for a laugh? I also want to just tell you that I'm going to tease you tonight. We're going to bring bread on the table, and I'm going to watch who's going to eat it. Okay? It's just like it's a test. Okay? And I'm watching, just so you know, and I'm judging. Okay? I'm judging and watching. So just teasing. They're going to bring bread. I mean, I am watching, but I won't be judging. So I want to tell you a little bit about Pat. We're going to do this interview style. It's going to be maybe 2 minutes, maybe 3. Right? Does Pat, she acts like a spring chicken, but I mean, you guys can see that her and I, we're not spring chicken, right? Matter of fact, her boss, she told me the story, and I have to tell. She runs a construction company. I mean, she's like an amazing woman. I mean, she's just, can you say amazing? She's amazing. I mean, truly, I believe that. I don't just believe that. I mean, I've been telling her 1,000 times. But her boss says, listen, you're going to go to the home show this weekend. And the reason why I want you to go is because you're old and people can relate to you. Right? And Pat is just laughing. She's like, I don't care. I'm going to show you how we do this. Right? So I want to tell you about Pat. Pat's been a patient for like, a year plus. And the reason why I'm going to ask her some question and I want her to share with you is because some of you, you're sitting here and you're like, yeah, that sounded good, Dr. Jean-Guy, but I'm just old, right? It's good for those other people, but not for me. And I want to prove to you how amazing God is, right? We've had this year happen hundreds of times in 20 years, right? So, this is Pat. Say hi to Pat. So, Pat, when you first came to our office, I want you to tell those folks there what kind of problems did you have? I'm holding the thing. I know it. She wants to be in charge. Can you tell? She's older, wiser, and she wants to be the boss. I'm the boss now. Come on. Tell what kind. Oh yeah, it's on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on.
Okay. When I came to Dr. Jean-Guy's office, I couldn't stand. I couldn't sit well. I could only lay. I was almost 100 pounds heavier than I am right now. I couldn't sleep. I was a mess. I was taking 5 prescription medications for heart, cholesterol, blood pressure, and I don't even remember what now.
Okay, so just in case you missed it, right? She's hurting all over. I know you guys don't have those problems. Let's just pretend you do, right? She's 100 pounds heavier. I know some of you are like, oh, that's impossible. Works for other people, not for me, right? She's taking 5 drugs. Now she's off of all of them. Well, but I know this is just for Pat, right? It's possible for her, but not for you. I want you to know, right? I mean, if you just paid attention a little bit, pay attention. This is profound. I want you to know God is good. I mean, he's designed those bodies to be amazing. But remember that you have to adopt the right definition of health, right? So now I'm just going to lead this because I've done this many times with her. I mean, I know the story, and I just want to go into the juicy part, right? The juicy part is, she goes to her grandkid's birthday party, and he wants, go ahead and before Dr. Jean-Guy. She goes to the birthday party.
Okay, go to the birthday party. And I sit and watch them play because I can't get up and do anything. So I sit in the chair and I watch the kids play.
She's got like plantar fascia, big toe pain, pinky pain. She's got pains everywhere, right? Shoulder hurts, everything hurts. And then 100 pounds later, 5 drugs, off of 5 drugs, right? I mean, 100 pounds lighter, no joint pain. Now she goes to the birthday party, and I want you to listen to that.
We did a Nerf war theme, and so I was running around doing Nerf wars through an obstacle course, shooting Nerf guns.
Pat, how old are you, Pat?
71.
I mean, the other day, just a week ago, I'm like, Pat, you're 72. That's amazing. She's like, not yet. It's a couple more months. Clap for Pat. Thank you. You are amazing. There's a lot more to this story. But what I'm trying to get across to you is I want you to know it's possible. You guys okay with that? I want you to know it's possible. I don't care what you do. I just want you to know it's possible. God wants you to be healthy. That's really what I want you to know. So what I want to do right now, I want to pray for your food. They're going to be bringing the food, right? I'm going to pray for your food first. They're going to bring the food. You can go ahead and scan your QR code, set up your appointment. We can do all of that all at the same time. You can eat, make your appointment. You can do all of that. And then we're going to do something that is like special. Can you say special? Some of you, you're sitting there, you're like, oh yeah, I got a question for this guy, right? So now I have 1 or 2 choices. I can either run out the door, right, which I would like to. I've been at the office since 6 o'clock this morning, but I won't do that. I mean, we're going to have like one question per table. So you guys decide who's going to ask the question. Make sure you make it hard, okay? One question per table. And then after that, once I'm done answering the question, as you're just like eating your bread and butter and all this stuff, right? I mean, you can have the butter, but not sure about the bread, but that's okay. Right? After we, I answer questions, then I'll be just like zooming out. Dr. Denise is going to tell you how we do this food thing. I'm going to pray for your food first, okay? I think the food is right in the hallway. You're going to grab that, bring it back in, and then I'll answer some questions. Is that fair? You guys okay with that? So I want to pray for your food. Ready? Father, we just I just want to say thank you for all the people that are here in this room tonight, Lord. I just pray that you bless each and every one of them, wherever they're at on their health journey, Lord. I just pray that you just hold on to their hands and just show them what's the next step is. And I just pray, Lord, that those seeds going to start growing as it relates to their health. And if it's not for them, that it's just gonna go. It's not gonna impact them. But if it's for them, you'll find a way to just move them on this next part of their health journey. And I just want to say thank you for the people that have made this food tonight, Lord. We just pray blessing over them and their business. And we just pray, Lord, that you bless this food that is about to nourish your body. In Jesus' name. Okay, Dr. Denise. We're going to go by table. Let's do it. This is the first table. We're going to go right down here. Okay. You guys were so amazing. Put up with me, all my spit and everything. Now you can go get food first. Okay, we're going to answer some question while those guys are gone. Make sure that they don't hear the question. I'm just kidding. We're going to start here on this table, and then we're going to go counterclockwise. Okay? Any question here? Rose, do you have any question?
Sure I do.
Okay, well, I'm ready. Because Dan says, I'm going to ask the question if you don't.
Once I scan this QR code, the process of what you mentioned after that, if there's a step 2, is there additional cost?
Yeah, so once we do the evaluation and then the report of findings, then depending which direction that we take, number one is find out what problems that you have. If you have any problems, what's your health concern, and can we help you with that? And if we can, then once we get to the second part of the report, right, that's called the report of findings, it's called the doctor's report, then one of our doctors or myself would sit down with the person and say, yeah, we can help you. And this is what our best recommendations are. And then we would go over, if there's any investment costs, insurance, no insurance, any of that. Yeah. Well, that was easy. Dan, do you have a question? Because this was too easy. You got this handle? Good job, Dan. You did a good job. Billy? Is this Billy? Awesome. Do you have a question? Oh, well, great. Make that easy too. How about you, Anna? No questions. Well, Cheryl's got a question for you because Cheryl has one every minute. She can ask questions for all of you. Go ahead, Cheryl. I'm ready. Oh, great. That's rare. I feel good right now. Thank you, Cheryl. How about Jean? Do you have a question for me?
I don't believe you take insurance. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, we take all insurance that has coverage for our services. Some of them don't. Well, we usually do courtesy check, and then we tell the person, what.
It's always been, we've gone to the church here for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it's always been, if you don't have insurance.
If you don't have insurance.
Insurance.
Oh, that's not true these days.
Very good.
Yeah. Yeah, we do take a fair amount of insurance, and sometimes there is some services that are not covered, but we do have, any insurance that has coverage for a service, we check that first, and then we'll report. Medicare as well, yes. Yes, Bob?
What about if we wanted to have a group that come together?
Yeah,
Can we do that?
yeah. Are you talking about this might be for just a you and I conversation. Is it just for you and I, and you and I and you and your friends, your family, you're talking about a consultation here, or you're talking about an evaluation? Yeah, I mean, I used to do evaluation in groups, so I can still do that. However, Bob, however, in my experience, it's better to do the evaluation, right? To do one, yeah, because then you can find out what the person's concerns are and how you can get to the bottom of that. Many times when people, when I've had people in a, 2, 3, 4 people in the past, which have done it, then what happened is people don't really tell you what's going on with them. Or they think that they're being rushed to the process. And I really don't want to do that. There's people that, have some real issues and real things that they want to handle. I want to make sure that we have the time for them to get to the bottom of it. Does that make sense? And they could all be like, a person could all be scheduled back to back, within the same couple hours, right? If that's what you're asking, all of that is possible. But I would not have like 10 people in the group in the same room at the same time trying to review their paperwork and doing all the exam and all that. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes, I'm ready.
Hearing information,
Yeah.
is that something you're born with? Because I had to have surgery for that, and my
Yeah.
neck bothers me a lot since because it's a lot weaker.
Well, yeah, for
I
sure.
had to do 3 times they opened me up.
Yeah. They
So
butchered
that's-
you up, huh?
Huh?
Nothing.
What'd you say?
I said when they cut into the muscle there, it's like butchering a person up. Yeah. What happened is they deactivate the muscles completely. So yes,
Oh, well, they,
but you can work on that. I have lots of patients that have had those surgery. You can work on that and you can help them. 100%. 100%. Scott, is there any question at your table, sir?
bread looks really good.
I mean, it's time for you to go get the food now. It's ready for you. Scott is good. What about this young lady over there? Is it Holly? Patty. Oh, yeah, I see it now. Patty, do you have any question, Patty? No questions? How do you gain weight? I mean, I don't know. That's kind of personal, isn't it? Oh, how you do it? Well, in the food world is you got to eat more fat and protein. Yes. You got to make sure that you have proper digestion. If you don't digest your food, then you won't be able to assimilate it. So your body won't be able to keep it on. Not any kind of fat, though. Healthy fat. Coconut oil, butter should be dripping all over. Olive oil. Butter is okay. Yes. 100%. Eggs, yes. Salmon. Nuts. Seeds. Yes. Lots of fat. The more fat, the better.
Good food, amazing.
Great. Thank you. If there's any question here, or everybody is, oh, this girl here, she's got a question right here. Okay, I'm ready. Oh, Jean's got a question. Hurry up. She's going to steal your time. Go ahead. I'm ready. What's that? Oh, you don't have any question? Okay. Okay, go ahead.
How much is each consultation after your initial one?
It just depends of like which services. We do a lot of different things. We have a holistic practice. So what that means is, there's some people, they come in for neuropathy or they come in for nutrition, they come in for weight loss. So all of those services will have different investment price point, however you want to call it. What's that?
Between 30 and
Oh,
50, 60?
yeah. It could, yeah. If you want to range between 50 and 100. Yeah.
We have to sign up tonight for the $69 deal.
Yeah, you need to sign up tonight for sure. That's the route.
The only route.
It's the only route. Sign up, Randy. Why are you laughing? Okay, Gene, I'm ready. And then Sandy. And then I'm running out the door.
I had a chiropractic treatment here, and my I have a fracture in my spine.
Yeah.
I don't do it anymore, and it wasn't, it was just a, I don't know what that's called, but it wasn't a,
An instrument?
yeah, it was an instrument.
Yeah.
And I have osteoporosis, so I can't do that. What do you say?
You mean you think you can't do that?
Well,
No, I take care of people that are close to 100 years old. This is not a problem. It was not done properly. That's all I can say to you. Yes. You're not old enough to be my mom, but if you were my mom, you'd be adjusted. 100%. Or maybe you're old enough to be my mom. You look so good.
people tell me that. But I ran and I don't run anymore. I used to run. I try to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Right now I'm hurting.
Yeah, get evaluated. There's nothing to be worried about. You just need to be in good hands. Somebody that knows what they're doing. 100%.
It took a long time to heal.
I understand that.
It was me.
I understand. I'm sorry about that, but
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
yeah.